everybody, and welcome back to the show. The Atheist Experience is live December 1st, 2002. You were determined not to do it. We were both sitting here going, which one of us is going to be the first to, to cha-cha-cha? But no, we talked about it, and yeah. Hey, everyone. Oh, Dan Barker's a wacky man, isn't he?
We know everybody at home was doing it.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in on this chilly weekend. I'm your host, Martin Wagner, Ashley Perrien, my co-host, and the show is sponsored, as always, by Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. ACA has weekly meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. at Hot Jumbo Bagels, located at 307 West 5th Street, downtown between Guadalupe and Lavaca, except for the first Sunday of every month when we have our lecture series in the Longhorn Room of First Cafeteria, North Cross Mall. Now, this being first Sunday in December, we were at First today, but we didn't have a lecture series. Instead, what we had was a big group discussion on our building plans.
Yes.
And a lot of good ideas were floated, and I think there'll be a lot more discussion. Yeah. But come next year, we could,
It's exciting to be in this position.
Yeah.
Now that we could have a building.
ACA is going to have a little fort.
Cool.
Yeah. Everyone will have to learn the secret handshake. And, it'll be fun. Just to have a consistent meeting place that we all know that is there. It's always available space for whatever function that we need. And it's just been a long time coming, so hopefully we can all make an agreement on
starting a treehouse in Russell's backyard or something.
Russell has a backyard? Okay, a little patch of grass. All right, well, so that could be a very exciting thing upcoming in the next year. Expansion of ACA. Yep. Very neat, but much discussion yet to be done, so make sure we get the optimal sort of thing for what we want. Okay. Various announcements. As always, Godless Gamers meet Monday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. at Russell and Virginia Glasser's house, and Atheist Happy Hour takes place at Antonio's Tex-Mex, located near the intersection of I-35 and Highway 183. On Thursday nights, about 7:30-ish is when it starts, but people trickle in all night long, so if you don't see anybody when you first get there, hang loose because the place will fill up and people turn up just all through the night. The Nonprofits is our weekly internet radio show, which plays at the atheistnetwork.com website. It's every Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock p.m., hosted by Jeff D. With Russell Glasser and whoever else is hanging around Russell's house that day. And it's a great show, 90 minutes of just news analysis and ranting and raving back and forth and all kinds of fun. And you never know what will turn up on that show. So that's Saturday afternoons, 2 o'clock p.m. at atheistnetwork.com. It's an MP3 stream. There's a live chat room feature to interact with the show. And past episodes of the show are available in MP3 form on our website. The University Atheists and Agnostics is a student organization, registered student organization, started up by Charles Tabany at University of Texas in Austin. University of Texas in Austin. I just skipped a whole word and had to backtrack. But that's Friday afternoons is when they meet, 4 o'clock p.m. at 310 Parlin. If you're a UT student or faculty, there's the information about that group. First really successful atheist organization that UT has had as long as I can remember, and probably ever. So well done there. Okay. And let's see. So for more information about our group, you can visit our fine website at atheist-community.org. And we're very happy that you joined us. This is a live call-in show. Those of you who've never watched us before, we're atheists, and we're here to, the show serves a function for our group. It's an outreach to other atheists in the community, people who might not be aware that there is a group out there, and also give theists, Christians, all theists of all stripes an opportunity to call us up and ask us questions, because a lot of people don't really know or understand what atheism is and what it's all about and what it's not. So that's why we're here. And on our website, though, if you're a new viewer to our show, we have a fact page where many of the most basic questions that we get on the show from callers, like, well, if there's no God, then how does stuff get here? And think the basic questions like that. are answered on our fact page. But, if they're not there and you have other questions for us, please let us know. And reruns of this show, last bit of announcements, take place Tuesday afternoons on this channel at the same time, 4:30 p.m. Reruns. So that's it for announcements, I think. Yeah, that's about it. No announcements yet for our solstice party, but it will happen. Since we have that going on. Yeah, I think I'm done. Over to you, actually.
Okay.
What's happening in the world?
All right. Got a couple stories here.
Okay.
First one, I saw this story just came out today, actually. It's dated today. Mm-hmm. 1 year ago, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Virginia law mandating a moment of silence in public schools for reflection, meditation, and prayer. Mm-hmm. Now some people in Texas are going to run with this and try and do the same thing in Texas now. Try and mandate a minute of prayer. The U.S. Constitution...
Is that what they're calling it?
Well, they can't. It's public schools. Yeah. They can't say prayer. But they can say it's for reflection, meditation, or prayer. It's basically to use as you will. Mm-hmm. And the guy who's pushing this actually says that the U.S. Constitution guarantees our religious freedom. And so that's why he's pushing it, is so that you are guaranteed a time to practice your religion, apparently.
But what he doesn't understand, right, is that, yes, the U.S. Constitution does guarantee that, but it can't
force it.
At any time of the day, at any time of the school day, a student is allowed to pray.
Yep.
There's no rule out there that says, there's no law, there's no statute that says, that students are not allowed to pray at their lockers, between class, in the gym.
Under current Texas law, students have a right to free expression inside public schools if it does not interfere with school activities.
There you go.
That means schools can pass out flyers about religious events, wear religious symbols, and pray in groups outside of class. Mm-hmm. They can do all of this and more.
So why does the school need to give them a moment of silence when they already have numerous moments all throughout the school day?
Yeah.
Between classes, before school, after school.
Pray till they're blue.
This is clearly an attempt, to get religious activity endorsed by the government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clearly what it is.
Yeah.
And we have seen in the past what happens. These moments of silence one day magically turn into moments of prayers recited over the loudspeaker.
Yeah.
And, and when that happens, it gets to be a real problem. Yeah. But that's what they're trying to do now.
So people are also questioning this, potential law to mandate a moment of silence because the school districts already have the option to do that. Mm-hmm. Each school district can say, okay, we're going to have a minute of silence or we're not going to. And so by pushing it to a state bill or something like that,
a state bill sends the message that the state endorses prayer, which is what the fundamentalists and the theocrats want.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they're after.
Going back to that wedge strategy that is so well documented on the internet. So.
We will post our evil conspiracy for all to see.
Yeah. So, okay, well, that's one to watch out for. Ooh. So, next one. There is a pastor this is Texas, Fort Worth, a little bit up north. He is a pastor at Sanger Church for the last 3.5 years. Now, apparently, he has an outside job. He works, in a consulting firm, I believe it is, logistics company. He's giving a slideshow presentation overhead at work. Now, he gets through the PowerPoint presentation. After that, he tries to pull up another document on his computer to show everybody, what's going on with their finances. And what pops up is a big picture of a naked child.
Whoa.
This is a business meeting. He actually throws child pornography up on the screen for everybody to see.
You mean in the middle of this? Oh.
Yeah. Talk about bad timing.
Awkward.
For that to come out.
Awkward.
Bad timing. So essentially the police seized his computer, looked around his office. They found a whole bunch of pictures in both his office and on his computer. He originally, and now he must have just been scared out of his wits and, had a brain fart. But he essentially said, where did this pornography come from? I don't know. It must have been a virus put it there. A computer virus.
Yes, the child porn installing computer virus.
Exactly.
That everyone is terrified
Exactly.
of. Yes.
Because I also found stuff in his email where he apparently sent these pictures to other people.
Oopsie.
So, yeah, he is being held on $300,000 bond, 2 counts of possessing child pornography, and 1 charge of promoting it. So, yep, he's been a pastor for 3.5 years, married for 13 years, and has 2 kids.
Yikes. Okay. Wow.
So,
boy,
he's doing something at business meetings he really shouldn't be doing.
Well, boy, that's just like one of those, the hole in the Earth's crust open up beneath your feet moments. Where it's just, in the middle of what? I mean, just
you just have that immediate sinking feeling, like, oh, this is not good.
Just stupidity just sort of begets stupidity. If you're dumb enough to collect that crap in the first place, right? I mean,
don't keep it on your work laptop or something.
Just keep it on my laptop. Yeah, just make it your desktop image. No, great. God. The little thing that comes up when you boot up, you're like, ah! No.
Not good timing.
I mean, have a little sense about it. I mean, well, again, if you're going to be breaking the law like that.
Apparently there's no sense involved.
No, there's no sense involved if you're going to be doing just something that extreme. So,
yeah.
Oopsie. So he's cooling his heels in,
in prison.
A bad place to be, someone who is a pedophile.
Yes.
Boy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And why not stick to the topic? In Italy, they got a new calendar coming out.
Oh, yeah, speaking of butts.
Yes, they have lots of new calendars coming out, at the end of the year in Italy, of course, also. And they have a new one this time. In 2003, a calendar on sale at newsstands countrywide, a glamour photographer has shot 12 months of undressed women in provocative scenes inspired by the life of Christ. These are essentially, it's marketed more as porn than religion. But these are all women.
Oh, it's like pinup stuff, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Supposedly, Madonna and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, I define porn as an actual sex act, being depicted graphically. Yeah. Okay. I mean, a photo of
erotic art then.
Erotic art.
Okay.
Erotica. Okay.
That's what it's being sold more as. But again, it's essentially many, many, many scantily clad women with babies, suckling babies and stuff like that. It's one of these things that, ew. Again, this is something I just don't want mixed with religion.
Takes all kinds, folks.
Just never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, I just don't want to see the manger scene. No, sorry. This is the filthiest show we've ever done so far.
September features a heavy-bosomed Virgin Mary suckling a child, while March depicts a raven-haired nude washing a woman's toes in a pose evocative of Mary Magdalene.
What, washing them with her tongue? What? Now that would be porn, right? That'll sell a lot of calendars, but no.
Yeah, I mean, it goes through several months here, and it definitely would not be appropriate for daytime television.
So they're depicting the Virgin Mary in the nude in erotic poses.
Yes.
Well, the Vatican has executed people for less than that. Yikes.
Yes, and they're having a little fit about this one, but apparently, burning people alive is not in kosher anymore.
It's not this fashion, but
it's not in vogue these days.
Egad.
But I'm sure that they would if they could.
Okay, so now is this already on sale?
Yes, I believe it is.
Well, eBay's going to
sold under the counter. Technically, it's under the counter. They mentioned that they don't have the stuff up above. You ask for it.
It's all over eBay, I bet already. Yeah. Yikes!
And
good grief.
Yeah.
Well, that takes some cojones to put something like that together and just sort of like.
Yeah, and he said he was kind of shocked. He figured this is erotic art. How can anybody be offended by this?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, I'm not that dumb.
The church? Who are they? I mean, what rock do you have to be living under? Good grief.
They're going to have a fit over this one.
Let's see, was a photo picture one there? I mean, we can't show this stuff.
Yeah, it's a very small picture in there.
Yeah, see, now I don't see anything. Now, here's the thing, though. This one strikes. I'll just give a description. Okay, so it's not too graphic, but there's this one very small photo, I guess. And there's a woman, and she's sitting down, and she's nursing an infant. And then there's another woman standing behind her, but facing away from the camera. It looks for all the world like we're in a kitchen, and the woman in the background's like on the phone or something. And this woman here is just kind of like hanging out and thinking about, okay, what do I need to do today? Is the laundry? If it's get more.
But again, it's all in lace.
But it doesn't. But it does. This doesn't strike me as being particularly erotic. There's nothing. It's just kind of. Yeah, I mean, yoy.
Not life in the normal household, though.
Okay, well, those crazy Italians. Anyway, okay. Well, if they all end up, hanging from bridges or something, we'll see. What's there? But boy.
And a couple really quick updates here also. Last week went into a lot on the Ten Commandments because the Alabama had down their decision that...
How's old Judge Roy holding up there?
Roy Moore has got to take his 2.5-ton granite monument and haul it out somewhere.
Okay.
Because it ain't welcome where it was.
But he's appealing.
Oh, yes, he is appealing.
So, well, he's not appealing. He's very unappealing. But he's appealing the case. And he's...
yes.
And...
Welcome to Atheist Comedy Hour.
But does he still have to... He has to remove the thing while the appeal is going on still, right? His filing the appeal doesn't... put a hold on having to remove that monument, or
they have not decided that yet. I don't think anything has officially been. I don't think anything's officially been done with the appeal.
Okay.
Yet, or at least it hasn't been heard.
It's been filed, and then have they scheduled?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, so then it wouldn't necessarily have a bearing on.
Yeah. They would have to make a decision as to whether or not the monument would come down during the appeal. That's a separate decision.
Okay, but they've given him 30 days to pull the monument. To
pull it down. And if he doesn't do it willingly, they give him 15 more days to force him to do it.
And then what do they give him, 7.5 days? And
I don't know.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's essentially what they're doing.
All right.
He's got 45 days to take it down.
Okay.
Anyway, a couple quick updates on other Ten Commandments. In Tennessee, there is a self-proclaimed atheist who was going to go to court and try and have them remove their Ten Commandments monument. And what they did is they took it down and put up a new monument with the Bill of Rights, the preamble to the state constitution, Magna Carta, Star-Spangled Banner, and the Ten Commandments. So it's one of many documents to show it's more of a historical basis than simply a, here's our religion.
Yeah, like I said, if that's the compromise that has to be drawn, I guess, whatever, but still. Yeah, there's no mistaking Judge Roy Moore's monument was like a big open book, and there it is, and
it's the only thing there.
All around it, yeah.
Yeah. Also, they have 5 public schools in Ohio, and they were ordered they had Ten Commandments monuments on each of their lawns of 5 public schools. They ordered them to be taken down. And so now there's the religious leaders from around the country are calling for an emergency summit on the public display of Ten Commandments. So, dun dun dun. And this one, Frederick City in, let me see, possibly Washington, I assume. They have found a new and interesting way to get around having their monument taken down when it's on state land. They just won't make it state land. They're going to sell a sliver of the park that it's on, a 10-foot by 50-foot section, going to sell it to somebody else, and that's where the monument stands. So,
well, yeah.
Technically,
using loopholes in laws.
Yeah, technically that's legal, but come on. It's
so now
it's
is
so
that little
blatant
section
what they're trying to do.
Sure, yeah. Well, then I think that
it should be fenced off. That 10 by 50 foot area.
Yeah, it should be like his private property,
not state area. We do not endorse any of this.
Well, not only that, but if they're going to allow them to do that, are they going to allow?
Can we buy the land?
Yeah, can we buy a little plot next to that little sliver?
No, can we buy that sliver and take it down and put up an atheist somewhere?
No, I just want to buy the sliver next to it and put up. All the quotes from Thomas Jefferson and all the.
If they're willing to sell land for religious display, can we buy some of that land?
Yeah, I mean, if they're willing to sell this land for the purposes of that monument, are they willing to sell other slivers of public land that size for non-religious statements or for statements from other faiths? Are they willing to, let the Buddhists buy a little sliver and put a little fat smiling Buddha up? Yeah. Are they willing to do that?
Because this is a 10 by 50 foot area.
If not, the hypocrisy is just, a little evident.
And it's appraised at $6,700. So.
Well, then I don't see any reason why any group can't pull that kind of money together.
I know.
And buy
it's not that much.
Right next to the Ten Commandments monument, have the little sliver, we're basically saying, okay,
Buddha.
There's no
Islam.
God, and here's, and having all the, I think American Atheists are whoever's up there in Iowa should take that initiative.
We were talking about what do we want to do with our money? Well, instead of buying a
good
house,
no, but I mean,
can we go ahead and buy this land and take the monument down ourselves?
Yeah.
Think of what a great ACA event that would be.
Build our headquarters right next to the
long time.
Yeah. So.
Now, we would have to move to Washington to do that. Drawback, but hey.
Yeah, well, we couldn't, unless there's an Austin, Washington, we wouldn't be the Atheist Community of Austin anymore.
That would be fun, though. But that's all the news for this week.
Boy, so just the usual shenanigans of Christians trying to circumvent the laws in order to get government endorsement for their religious beliefs over all others. Gee, well, so what's new?
Moment of silence, selling land.
Oh, well, good grief. I wanted to have a couple things to talk about. I was going to talk about that Wired magazine article. I didn't bring it in. Wired magazine has this big cover story in which there are several articles. Not all of them are religion, great. Some of them are more skeptical, but the main one, right, is again, I didn't bring it with me, but it just really frustrated me that the author, and you ought to read the articles for yourself. I mean, it's in the current issue of Wired, and it's probably on their website too.
Yeah.
But he's making it seem like there is this vast movement within science to validate religion, or instead, and by the same time, he's trying to make it appear as if some scientists have this idea that, well, we've just gotten as far as we can get.
Yeah. And so let's ask theologians.
And so now we need to think of this stuff as being all spiritual or theological and outside of our ken. And it's like, well, no. I mean, come on. It's just to say that okay, there's things that we don't know anything about, so we just need to take all that stuff and call it God or call it magic or call it spiritual or what have you.
God of the gaps.
Yeah, that's all that is. And when, the whole point of science is, learning how stuff works. And then when you get to a certain point, you find that there's all these new questions. And then you just have more exploring to do.
Yeah.
But the author, he just wasn't he wasn't understanding that. And he was making all these statements to the effect that just assumptions that really had no basis in fact. Like the whole idea that he mentions biotechnology and makes the statement that, well, this is a realm better left to philosophers and theologians than science. And you're like, why? Wow. Says who?
Jeez.
Just this assumption, all these assumptions that he's making. Yeah. But it just struck me as being really irresponsible. I was going to compose like this big, long rebuttal letter to the editor, but then I thought, no, I'd like to see if actual scientists, actual physicists, people, I like
write in and say, I don't know who he's talking to, but apparently not me.
There was, this definite leaning towards, interviewing scientists, who think that, there is some sort of validity to looking at things in a spiritual or religious manner. Yeah. And even like the one, scientist that they did interview who, identified himself as atheist was a guy who said, I still have this incredible awe about, the vastness of the universe and everything in it, and there's so much to know. Yeah. But
that doesn't mean I'm going to be religious.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that the difference between that sort of thing, the difference between the kind of faith that religion requires and the kind of faith that this author indicated you have to take in order to accept concepts like, all this stuff in quantum physics and alternate universes and multiverses and wormholes and stuff like that. The big difference there is, of course, in science, it is all speculation. And the scientists will tell you, well, we're just speculating here, but it's interesting, isn't it? And the difference between that and religious faith says, okay, here's stuff that you have to take on faith and you can't question it. It's what you have to believe. It's the way it is. And if those pesky scientists come up with evidence that shows that maybe this isn't true, you just have to ignore them.
Yeah.
That's the big difference between science and religion. That's why I think that the divide between science and religion is just complete. I mean, I don't think they're just diametrically opposed in their methods.
Yeah.
And but some people might disagree. But
when science says I don't know, it opens up a door to more research and study and finding out answers. When religion says I don't know, it closes them. Well, because you cannot look there anymore.
Well, religion
God fills that gap. Don't bother.
That's right. That's what I point. Religion doesn't. But religion doesn't say we don't know. Religion says it's the Lord.
Yeah.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. Or who are you to question?
Which is just a nice way of saying I don't know.
It's a dishonest way of saying I don't know. But anyway, but I didn't bring that. I was going to go into that article in depth, and it would take too long. Yeah. Because I was poring over it and thinking, okay, here's like a sentence, and I would have like a paragraph response to it, and then just sort of I'm just going to wait for like the next couple of issues of Wired and see if actual scientists write back and see what they have to say, and if they really get some interesting responses. But
as the days go by,
We face the increasing inevitability that we are alone in a godless, uninhabited, hostile and meaningless universe. Still, you've got to laugh, haven't
you? That's what we're here for.
Yeah. It's always a good laugh. But again, I don't think it's all meaningless. We give it meaning.
Yes.
By how we interact with it. Okay, but what I am going to talk about now, in a little bit, while we are waiting for those calls to pop up. Live call-in show, 477-2288 is the number to call us up and talk to us. This guy, I don't know if any of you have seen these that have been being passed around town. It's been a while since I've seen them, several months, but they're back and forth. And these guys were passing these out, I know, the day before Thanksgiving. In like supermarket parking lots and things. Found a bunch of them just littered all over the place. Alamo Christian Ministries. Look at this guy. I mean, looks like, some Sopranos reject, right? I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, this is Pastor Alamo, right? I mean, what a creepazoid. I mean, hello, dude. I mean, 1981 was, 21 years ago. Come on. This is does he have a gold chain? I can't. Anyway, there we are. Okay. Anyway, the very first time these popped up, when Jeff D was host of the show, Jeff looked up some information on this guy and found out some surprising stuff. And so I thought, in the spirit of, being a public information service, as our show often is, I just hopped back on the internet and did a basic search for Tony Alamo, his history, and be interested to know just a few things about this fella. He's essentially out in California. He started out, he is described just point blank as a cult leader. There are several articles about him at Rick Ross's website, rickross.com. Now, Rick Ross is the guy who he's a very well-known expert on cults. Okay. And these, in these books, these weird religions and stuff like that. And so there is and they're all listed alphabetically. And he does talk about Tony Alamo, but anyway, Tony Alamo did 6 years in jail in a federal prison for tax fraud. I'm sorry, tax fraud. Here is an article, and I'm just going to read some of the salient points from 1998 when he got out. Tony Alamo, he says. Increased activity in and around the Tony Alamo compound in Saugus, that's where, it originally was, I suppose, and elsewhere has prompted speculation that the flamboyant cult leader may be staging a comeback when he is released from federal prison, December 8th. This would have been 1998. It talks about how leaflets have been starting to be distributed around the area, so he was really planning a big comeback. It says, he goes on to say, many still remember the events of nearly a decade ago. So this would have been like 89, 90, around the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, when sheriff's deputies raided the Saugus compound of Tony Alamo in response to allegations of child abuse after an 11-year-old boy reported he was paddled 140 times by 4 men acting on Alamo's orders. 7 years later, prosecutors dropped the charges because too much time had passed. In Arkansas, too, I guess Arkansas is where he's originally from, the memory of Alamo lingers, and ex-followers believe when the 63-year-old Alamo is released from a 6-year prison sentence for tax fraud, he will try to rebuild his ultra-conservative religious empire. Basically what happened was Alamo was hit with these charges, and he fled to Florida. And the federal authorities were searching for him for 2 years before they found him. Wow. But they talked to a former member here, actually from Arkansas is where he started out, but he said, but now he has a big website apparently, and a lot of space on his website is taken up with, explanations of why he isn't a cult leader. This is kind of funny, but basically what he did was he had this compound, and they interview a fellow, Ronald Enroth, sociology professor at Westmont College in Santa Barbara, who has done research on extremist religious groups. And also a former member, a guy named Tom Smith, says, there was a tremendous amount of peer pressure at the compound. You pick up a fortress mentality, kind of an us against them, us against the world mentality. It was always hammered home every day that we were the last bastions of Christians in the world, and if you left here, God was going to throw you on the ash heap. Smith, this fellow, left in August 1986, hiking down from Georgia Ridge in the middle of the night after deciding that, quote, Tony wasn't using us as human beings, we were just tools. The threat of eternal hellfire, there it is again. Yep. Boy, just comes up all the time. Kept followers from leaving. But what happens is we were told that anyone who left there was either found dead, went insane, or turned to a life of crime and went to prison. But it was Alamo who went to prison in 1994 after being convicted in Memphis, Tennessee, of failing to file tax returns on church profits. So he's doing all this, and they talk a bit about his wife and how he started up his thing. But this guy is basically a sleazy cult leader, right? And he's a criminal, and here's what he looks like. And so if you see one of these little flyers under your windshield wiper, well, it's kind of coarse for toilet paper, but it could be a good birdcage liner or something like that. But there he is, Mr. Tony High. Oh, there he is. Now, appearing at the Sands nightclub, Wayne Newton and Tony Alamo. Boy, that is just sleazy. But listen to some of the ravings in this little. This is all just, I mean, raving upon raving. It's kind of fun to read in a.
You have a very strong stomach.
In a yikes kind of way, but he talks. He goes on railing about how he's eager to see a big war in the Middle East. Really looking forward to that. He says, if I were a person sticking my nose into Israel's business, as so many people are doing today, I'd get my nose out of there very fast, turn my heart away from the world and unto the Lord, and receive God's life and power in me. Then I'd be blessed in this world and blessed eternally in heaven. Boy, you'd have endless supply of Ray-Bans, for one thing. He says, the destruction of Israel's enemies shall occur as soon as spiritual Israel accepts God's new covenant. So again, this whole, the only good Jew is a Christian Jew.
Yeah.
All the Jews have to convert to Christianity, and then I guess everyone else will be destroyed. And God's word is true, and God's promises are true. What he has promised shall surely come to pass. And we'll be right back after these. Well, that guy. So anyway. So, just thought we would let you in on shenanigans that are taking place around town. I've seen every now and again. Doesn't happen frequently, but you will see one of those. I've had it under my windshield wiper when I was when I was at the supermarket last week, but also when I've been down near campus, like in the that area. They just pop up every now and again, and so. Just thought you'd be amused by that. Good.
Cults are dangerous because they promise you hope, happiness, and maybe even an afterlife. But in return, they demand you pay money. Any religion that requires you to pay money in order to move up and learn its tenets is wrong.
Well, okay. All right, calls, I think. It's that time, isn't it? All right.
Sure, why not?
There we go. Well, we'll start with David on line 1, see what he has to say. David.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing?
Fine, thanks. I've got, I don't know if y'all are aware of this. This is basically my workplace moved on Monday, and so I'm taking a new route to work. And along Anderson Mill Road between Research and 620, there is an abortion wacko that's set up outside of a medical clinic. That I've noticed he was there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There's a Winnebago on one side of the road, and he's got the big baby killer fetus sign out front.
Oh, nice.
And it looks like he was stopping people because he's right there at the gate. He's standing right at the gate.
One dude, and he's,
Yeah, and I didn't know if this was, since I'd never, driven down this road before until Monday, if this was something that's been ongoing, because he's got his own Winnebago across the street.
So he's got his camper across the street.
Yeah,
and
it
he's
was
standing
on the shoulder there because there's no sidewalk on Anderson Mill.
Yeah,
pretty high traffic area. And he's been there. He was there all 3 days last week.
My goodness.
One guy got huge, about 5 foot tall, 7 or 8 foot long sign. So. With your typical graphic fetus picture, baby killers here or something. I can't remember the exact words. And I wasn't aware, have y'all heard anything? Has there been any problems?
No, it's the first time I've ever heard of it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise. This is the first time that I've heard that there's like
in Austin.
A guy active here in town.
Yeah.
I'm glad he hasn't been getting any media, so that's a good thing.
Well, I'm from Georgia, where we had bad problems with these wackos. Eventually, they bombed some places in Atlanta, a couple of abortion clinics, and a lesbian bar. So
That's right, yeah.
It's, it's not how I look at the lone wacko, but it's not funny.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, lone wackos can do quite a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that, I think that there have now been laws passed. The Supreme Court, someone will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a distance that they have to stay from the actual clinic door.
Okay.
I guess it's a state-to-state thing in that regard. But as long as he hasn't, physically accosted anyone, if he's standing there with his signs and just being a nuisance, well...
it's legal.
Different laws in different states. In Georgia, they passed a law that is considered emotional terrorism.
Yeah.
To stop someone at there and go, "You're killing your baby! You're killing your baby!" and threat
harassment. And,
I don't know if it's that way in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm quite sure the clinic is, of course, aware of this fellow, and I'm sure they have their own legal team. I'm sure they have lawyers and people who have advised them on. What can we do about this guy, if anything, and what would he have to do in order for us to be able to do anything, and what can he or can he not do? So, I mean, I'm sure that on that end it's dealt with, right? And
I just wanted to sort of encourage any of your viewers out there that if they know something about it or if they're active in either feminist causes, I mean, this is like one of your top priority of separation of church and state issues in the country.
Although I don't, it's a shame because I don't think it should be, right? I mean, I think that abortion should be looked at strictly as a healthcare and medical issue.
Yeah.
But of course, the religious right makes it into a religious issue, and therefore it becomes a church and state kind of thing. Now, the guy protesting right now, that's a First Amendment issue. So like I said, if he's not doing anything if he's not physically impeding people's, entry into the clinic or anything like that, then presumably he has every right to stand there out on the sidewalk with gross test signs and make an ass of himself. Yeah. There's no law that says you can't do that, but it's good. I appreciate you making us aware of him.
Yeah, he's able to do this. There's probably better ways to convince people, though, of his side. I mean, there are arguments for and against abortion, that makes sense. And standing there with grotesque signs saying you're murdering your baby isn't going to convince too many people.
Extremism, right, alienates.
It'll scare them off enough to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a form of terrorism. It's just trying to influence other people's behavior through fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's this kind of extremism backfires. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are not necessarily, you couldn't really say on the fence, but who can say, well, I can see why abortion should be legal, but then there's other, there's bad things about it too, I guess. And, sound reasoned arguments always will win the day, I think. Yeah. But that kind of thing, and of course, religion, emotionalism, and hysteria, scaring people, that's their stock in trade. But still, though, if you have an issue like this, as you said, people will be alienated simply by if you just discuss them. Yeah. There was a fellow flying around over Portland, Oregon, with a thing behind on a light airplane with a big banner. Yeah. One of those airplane banners with this mangled dead fetus on it, saying abortion kills. And and it's sort of like, who do you think is going to be swayed by first off, you're going to it's too extreme. It's going to backfire. Against the people who might not necessarily be committed to a specific position on abortion. But then also, let's face it, I mean, there is, from a free speech standpoint, when it comes down to the whole, well, does free speech mean you can yell fire in a crowded theater and that kind of thing? I mean, if you're driving down Anderson Mill with your little kids and with your family, and you don't want them seeing a filthy, disgusting picture of, gore and blood, you should have a right to be able to be out in public, a parent, and not have their children exposed to something. A parent should control what input the child receives. Yeah. And if there's just some guy with, I mean, it'd be one thing if his sign just said, abortion is murder, but once again you have the
graphics behind it.
Yeah. So it's a big thing that is backfiring and is making all these abortion folks, anti-abortion folks, kind of look like kooks, which I guess is, I don't know, a good thing as far from the feminist perspective. But we appreciate you making us aware of him, and thanks a lot.
All right.
Take care.
Bye. Sean.
Boy.
That's kind of wacky. So, like I said, I had never heard of him in town before.
No.
Obviously, it's around the country, but I just haven't heard of it here.
I guess he's not getting any media because, I haven't heard any local, which is good. You don't need to feed the trolls.
Yeah, really.
So, but that's, anyway. Again, I've said it before, the big irony is that what will, I think my view on abortion is that for medical emergencies and for legal reasons, I think that, and health reasons, health crisis reasons, I think those are adequate reasons to make it a safe legal procedure.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, if you want to rid America of abortions as some form of, oops, I forgot, retroactive birth control or just, something like that, right? How do you do that? You do it through education. You do it through comprehensive sex education in the schools. And the big irony is that the people who are opposed to abortions are also opposed to that.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, they love this whole idea of the abstinence-only education programs, but there's no data to show that any of those work.
Unfortunately, we kind of have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Today, an abortion-only stance isn't going to do much. Because, again, abstinence-only. Because usually what they're teaching is abstinence-only, that's it.
Yeah.
Not for good reasons.
Yeah.
Not because here's all disease you can get or you can get pregnant. It's just abstinence only because God says so. So, go for it.
Strictly, it's again, taking something that should be a public health matter and making it a religious morality issue.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that morals aren't involved, right?
Of course.
But I think that the most important concern, first and foremost, should be, as a public health issue, and how do you handle public health issues? You have an educated public. And anyway, teen pregnancies are down, way down.
Yeah.
It's still down. I was looking at figures for that just recently, as a matter of fact. So, all right. Jim is online too. Waiting very patiently. Hi, Jim.
Hi.
How you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I was interested in finding out your opinion on if there's no God, why is there medical miracles and things like this happening in Lourdes, France, and at Fatima, Spain, and also people reporting life after death experiences and floating above the operating room,
Sure. Yeah.
and seeing the instruments and the medical technology that the doctors are using, and the person not being medically trained, seeming to repeat the doctor's orders and knowing about different arteries and different incisions and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things actually here. One, there are a lot of cases of people partially waking up out of anesthesia, and to where they can actually hear things. They know what's going on. They're just physically out of it. They can't say, I'm awake, stop cutting me open. But they can still hear what's going on and hear what's being said. So that would account for some of it. Another part, the out-of-body and near-death experience that you mentioned, they have a part of the brain right up here above your right ear. If they stick an electrode in it and put a little juice through it, you have an out-of-body experience. You essentially, your position, it feels like your sense of self is elsewhere.
Yeah.
It moved a couple feet in front of you or something like that.
It's an area of the brain that deals with how you perceive spatial relationships.
Exactly.
It's called the angular gyrus.
Yep.
And if it is stimulated, it can give what are called dissociative feelings, whereas you can feel other presences in the room when there aren't other presences, aren't other people around. You feel as if you are moving out of your body. There's this whole part of the brain, right, that is the thing that helps you determine, okay, this is how far my arm goes, and then beyond this, there's distance and there's other stuff
out there.
Yeah. Like there's a chair and it's that far away, and there's the rest of this room, and there's my environment. The angular gyrus, when you mess around with the chemical activity going on in there, your perception goes all haywire. Yeah. So pretty much, out of body experiences, they've been studied quite a lot. These near-death experiences, it's pretty much down to brain chemistry, unfortunately. Now, as far as like religious claims of religious miracles, I know of a lot of ones that have either turned out to be either misinterpretations of natural events. Some have been out-and-out hoaxes. But people see what they want to see, right? And if you have a culture in which religious belief has been entrenched for centuries, not thousands of years, then these kinds of interpretations of things, this way of looking at the world is encouraged and it's reinforced, and you get a lot of social reinforcement. And so when someone is brought up in a very devout religious belief system, it's very natural for them to have a tendency to interpret things that they can't really understand through the filter of that belief system. Yeah. There's nothing really unusual about that at all.
And there's also a lot about mind over body, that type of thing. There's a lot that we simply don't know about how the mind and the body interact together. And so you can have patients where they do a test on certain drugs and they'll give half people, the control group, sugar pills. A portion of those people are usually healed to a certain extent. Your mind, if you think that something is going to cure your problem, there are a lot of times where it will. You can take M&Ms for, for a headache.
Well, I wouldn't advise it.
Pretty often it'll work.
Yeah.
If you think it's going to work, there's a chance that it will.
Well, if a lot of you, if you're going
to a church where they tell you this will cure your problems and God, infinite being, is working on your side to cure your ails of whatever they be, there's a chance that it could, just because your mind is you want to fix it.
Well, I would qualify that statement. Okay, see what religion does quite a lot, right? Is it convinces you have all these ailments.
That's true.
And then it offers itself as a solution.
Yep.
Okay, to the ailments. Okay, but when what we have seen, right? What we have seen is time and time again. We've reported them on the news. And in fact, for a while there was almost an epidemic of it. It was terrible. Of parents refusing to take their children to doctors for simple ailments, right? Like the flu or something like that, or some kind of diabetic situation. Refusing to take them to the doctor and just having prayer vigils over the child, and the child dies. Okay. Now, it's a terrible, tragic event, but what's happening that is good, I think, is that these parents have, in many cases, started being prosecuted for being negligent. Yeah. Which they are. Okay. Yeah. It's one thing that you can say a person has a right to their own belief system, but when your belief system leads to harming someone else, that's another matter entirely. And in that case, I would have to say, in those cases, have we had a situation where the parents' beliefs were proven to be true, or were they not proven to be true? Yeah. I would say they were not proven to be true. So, that's
okay. I'd like to give you two examples, though. One, what about somebody who's in a life or death experience and dies, clinically is dead for 30 minutes, and not only does he know about the medical procedures, he predicts events in the future that come true.
Has this ever happened in the history of the world?
Yes, it has.
Can you give me the information and I'll research it?
Yes, read Daniel Brinkley's books.
No, give me the actual case. Give me the guy. Do you have the name of the guy who died?
Brinkley, Brinkley, Daniel, and I think it's got I Saw the Light in it, and Into the Light. I may be wrong about the titles, but his last name is Brinkley, where he was struck by lightning in 1975, and went up to heaven and met God.
And what's it like up there?
It's pretty nice. He floated around these crystal cities and stuff, and met angels, and they showed him how he'd done wrong in his life, and how he was going to go to hell, and how he was headed for hell, and then they showed him what to do. They told him about world events that would happen 25 years in the future.
Like what?
They all came true.
Like what?
Like a war?
Like inflation, the fall of Russia.
Inflation, I mean,
Inflation's been going on since money has been invented.
Okay, what else?
So.
What else?
The fall of communism in Russia.
Did they give a date? Did they tell them when it would happen?
Yes, they did. In the late 1980s.
What about September 11th?
That wasn't mentioned.
Oops. Gee, you'd think angels would have known about that one, wouldn't you?
It wasn't important. What is important was...
Wait a minute.
Pretty important to us.
September 11th wasn't important?
Pretty important to us.
It was. What was important was just in his life.
Yeah, I think I haven't researched him yet, but my initial impressions of Daniel Brinkley is that he is a guy who has figured out a way to jerk a lot of people's change and make money selling a book full of nonsense to gullible people. That's my initial impression. Okay, that he's just made all this up.
Okay.
But I'll research him and I'll see what information there is about him.
You're entitled to your opinion, of course.
Okay.
And a second thing is, okay, let's take Lourdes, France. Okay, why doesn't if the mind can cure diseases? People who study yoga and Tai Chi that are sick, it never seems to happen to them. They like the cancer just keeps on going. But when they go to Lourdes, France, miracles happen. Why Lourdes, France? That's because Mother Mary appeared in Lourdes, France. And it's a holy place and everything.
I've heard Mother Mary has also appeared in the window of an office building in Florida. Yep. And she also has appeared in several, oil stains in garages in Mexico. She's appeared in tortillas. Why would divine beings need to reveal themselves in this way? I just don't get it. Like in food and on stains on the floor and images on the walls. And I don't know that any of the claims that have been made I'm going to read up on some more on Lourdes. I've only heard bits and pieces about it, but as I understand, a lot of those claims what little I know about it is that there have been a bunch of unsubstantiated claims made, but I'll read up on both of these things. This could be good information for the next show.
Okay. But thank you very much for your time.
All right. Well, thanks for calling, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why won't anybody listen to me? I don't have any special powers. I am not a healer.
Fine. More money for me.
So he goes to heaven, and he's floating around in crystal cities, and he meets a bunch of angels, and they tell him about future events that won't come true, but they forget September 11th.
Yeah.
Big one,
Oh, well. We'll see.
But I guess
they predicted a war.
Yeah, but I guess they managed to predict
those
all
things
of the
will never
events.
happen again.
They managed to predict. What do you want to bet that if I find these guys' books, right? Okay, this is what's his name, Brinkley. The publication date on these books will be in the 90s, after the Soviet Union fell. Yeah. After all these things.
I saw it coming, I promise.
Because I was lived up to this happened to me.
I really did.
Yeah. There's no end to people who are willing to write a load of books to fleece the gullible. And so. All right, Juan is on line 1. He's next, I take it? All right, thank you.
Hello?
Hi, you're on.
Hey, Martin. I met you at the library. I handed that book. It was a book on private life, I think it was.
Yeah, the Romans, yes.
Okay, well, something like that about Roman Catholics and whatnot. And I just wanted to mention an experience when somebody thinks they know the law, doesn't actually mean that they know the law. So, as I'm smoking outside, someone says, I think you're in violation of city ordinance. And of course they can't quote the law because I asked them to, and they just keep walking by and go inside the library.
Okay.
So as I keep smoking, it doesn't bother me. So it doesn't influence me when somebody says, I think you're not what you think you are, or I think this, I think that. You know what I mean? When
I'm not sure what the point you're trying to make is.
Well, when somebody's trying to influence you with the law or the Bible or whatever book that they're trying to push on you, you do your own research, and I've done my own research. So,
right. Okay.
Whatever it is, whether the law is what the law is. Doesn't matter.
Unfortunately, the problem with the law, right, is that, the laws that we have, I guess you're talking about laws in our city and in our country and what have you, those do matter, because if you break them, there's
actual real consequences.
Yeah, there are real ramifications to that, but in a general sense, right, thinking critically about claims that are made to you is always a good thing, but of course, if the claims have a foundation, then that's fine. If they don't have a good foundation, then they deserve a healthy dose of criticism.
Yeah, critical thinking is all it's about. All I think about. Whether or not somebody thinks what I think doesn't really matter to me, pretty much.
Okay.
So I just wanted to pass that on and.
All right. All right. Okay. Well, thanks very much. Okay then. Jay is on line 3. See what?
Yes.
Hi, you're on the air.
Are you guys Christian bashers?
We don't think of ourselves as that. We're not here to bash Christians at all.
That quote that you guys make it in the show where you say, Christians, we don't something, we just think you're wrong.
We don't hate you.
We don't hate you, we just think you're wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, is this show all about just to try to make a point that you think Christianity is wrong?
Well, I mean, we're atheists, right? So
but
we don't believe in God, and we don't believe in the claims that the Christian faith makes.
Right,
so,
I understand that, but you guys, you don't bash per se other like Hindus or Muslims or because they believe in a God as well.
Yeah. Well, only
but
because
but your quote is like directed at Christians. I'm trying to understand.
Well, I've actually, and I'll let you get to your answer in just a second, but I've actually been in an email exchange with a guy recently, and I've been thinking about our sign-off, and it might be a good idea to modify it to something like theists.
Yeah.
We don't hate you, we just think you're wrong, because that does cover the waterfront, and it doesn't seem to be singling Christians out unfairly. And, I can see that that's a valid point. The reason that we address Christianity more than other belief systems is simply because this is America. Christianity is the number one majority faith, and so that's who's calling us. Those are the people who are trying to influence our laws. There are. If there were a bunch of Buddhists out there.
When you look at the country and when it was founded and when everything happened, a lot of stuff was based on Christian beliefs and doing things the right way by people. That's why you have a lot of. That's why you have a lot of laws. That's why the Ten Commandments was written. Not the Ten Commandments, but the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and all that to protect those rights that people have to treat people right. That's a Christian-based belief system.
But every belief system pretty much says treat people right.
Yeah, I know, but to treat you right, I have to follow the Constitution and be adhere to the laws and do right by you, or else I'm just being an anarchist and just going out doing things for the hell of it.
And those principles are
Christian based.
No, those are pre-Christian.
No. Pre-Christian.
Yeah, they're pre-Christian. Yeah, many societies.
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 The Bible itself says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." And when you look at the Constitution, that's kind of like what it's saying. You don't step on my land and degrade my land or whatever, and I won't do yours.
Jay, 500 years before Christ, Confucius said the same thing. Okay,
do unto others, then split.
No, not that. But no, there were pre-Christian cultures that had codes of law and moral precepts thousands of years prior to the Judeo-Christian faith. So,
well, if that's the case, then you should change your slogan.
Well, I said
about everyone. You should say Hindus, Christians, everyone, because basically atheists are against everyone.
Well, hang on. We're not against
everyone else has a God.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah, Christianity, Hindus, Muslims.
Yeah, but
we're not
Judaism.
We're not against theists any more than theists are against. I guess.
No. Here's the thing.
But essentially, we're trying
to flip channels, and I see you show like a lot of your stuff.
Okay, one at a time, guys.
Yep.
All right.
What we're doing here is trying to explain our point of view and give reasons for why this makes more sense for us. If you agree with us, great. If you don't, call us up and tell us why not.
Right.
If you're already an atheist, hey, come down and meet us.
We're not trying to bash you. Criticizing points of view is not the same thing as bashing a person. You'll hear us bash people when those people do bad things that deserve bashing, right? Like this Tony Alamo guy. You'll hear us bash people like Jerry Falwell when he tries to blame Americans for September 11th. You'll hear us bash individual people if they do bad things, but those are individual cases. Those are individual cases of somebody doing a bad thing.
But you pointed back to the fact that they may have been Christians and say they're following something that's Ponzi. It's like I flip channels and seen this show a lot of times, and it's like I notice you guys, you try to base your arguments against Christianity, and like if people are doing bad things, then it's because of Christianity making them do those things.
No, it's not because they're Christian that they do it. The kind of side point that's being made is that being Christian doesn't automatically make you a good moral person.
Of course.
So,
God said that we were yet sinners. We're going to be sinners until the day we die. Every day you do something.
But the thing is,
you're not realizing it might be a sin.
Quite frequently, get the argument that having religion, and particularly having the Christian religion, makes you morally superior to non-Christians. We hear that all the time.
Who are you hearing this from?
We're hearing it from callers who.
I mean, are they Christian callers?
They call themselves Christians, you know.
And they're saying that they're better than you, or are they just trying to make a point?
Well,
not in those exact words, but pretty close.
Yeah, well, they basically say that, you know, I believe in God and you don't, so therefore how can you have any sense of right and wrong and morals and that sort of thing, implying that, you know, they are morally superior simply by virtue of believing in something. Well, so there are a lot of, you know, some supernatural belief. So there's a lot of that attitude. You know?
I've been thinking about this, that you atheists couldn't possibly be atheists if they believe in any one of the 10 Commandments. If thou shalt not kill, if you believe, listen, let me make my point.
Hang on,
if you believe that you should not kill your neighbor, that's one of the 10 Commandments. So if you believe that,
and it's nowhere else in history.
Excuse me?
No, and you're saying that you'll find no other law in history that is against murder.
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if there is one, those people have a God.
You're saying that it is exclusively in the 10 Commandments that you can't kill.
No, I'm not saying it's exclusively 10 Commandments. It could be in other philosophies. It could be.
Well, then
but
there
those
you go.
other philosophies have a God. They're not atheists.
Humanism doesn't have a God.
Really?
Okay. Atheism
about?
Atheism is a philosophy that doesn't have a God.
Humanism states that you are God.
No, it doesn't.
What is humanism?
Humanism is all about respecting human rights, human dignity, living together, in harmonious civilizations.
They're just atheists, right? Basically, right?
Some humanists are atheists. Some humanists are not.
Humanist basically says that our moral basis came from other people. We sat down and thought about things and said, "Hey, killing people is kind of bad. Let's not do it."
But
now you can still be a theist humanist. It's unusual, but it's possible because it doesn't say anything about God. It says morals.
But my whole point is, whether it's 10 Commandments saying it or any other philosophy that says it, if you believe that you should not kill your neighbor, then you're not an atheist, because those people that wrote those philosophies had a God.
Jack, your whole definition of what it means
to be an atheist.
You see what I'm saying? No. Well, I do. I see what you're saying.
Basically, what you should do is really be going against that and killing people, saying, I don't believe that, so I can kill you if I want to.
Okay, Jay, our turn. Jay, okay, you're living in the land of Oz, dude. Okay, first off, what it means to be an atheist is that you don't believe there's a big invisible magic man in the sky ruling the universe. You don't believe in any gods. It has nothing to do.
But God sent down those laws.
We don't believe that.
Gods.
We don't believe that.
Well,
you need to prove that. If you believe that God set down those laws, you need to prove that to us.
You just made my point for me.
I made what point?
If you believe that you are not to just go out and just shoot your neighbor for the hell of it, you believe in somebody's philosophy that had a God.
No, we don't believe. Wait a minute. So why don't you go out?
Make that up.
Why don't you go out and shoot people?
Because I believe in the one in Christianity of the 10 Commandments that thou shalt not kill.
But that's the only reason?
Yes, that's the main reason. Because
wait a minute.
To me in Christianity, God is telling me don't kill. That's the only reason I need.
That's the only reason,
because He told me not to.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so you don't go around killing people.
All right.
Because your God told you not to.
Right.
You needed to be told that. Okay.
Right, because man, we're sinners from the beginning. We have temptations.
Wait a minute. See, now there's another thing.
We have temptations. If I had no order in my life, if I saw someone with a lot of gold, a jewelry on, and I had that temptation, man is always tempted.
Okay.
I don't care what you're tempted in, beer drinking or looking at.
Wait a minute, Jay. Okay, then let me stop you there, because that's another thing that you believe that atheists and humanists don't believe. You believe that people are bad and we don't. Okay. Humanism is a philanthropic philosophy, but your religion says human beings are innately bad and sinful.
Yes.
Okay.
We are.
See, that's another reason we don't like your religion, because your religion is very anti-human. And
so you're saying that whether a person does good or bad, they're not bad people.
But here's the thing, though.
That's what you're saying. Whether I kill someone or not.
Wait a minute.
I'm not a bad person. That's what you're saying.
No,
not at all.
Dude, you are
You're saying that humanists and atheists don't believe that people are inherently bad. You just said it.
Yes, we don't believe people are inherently bad.
Okay, but do you believe that you can be tempted?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's another one. That proves right there that you.
I haven't killed anyone, though.
Dude,
I get really mad sometimes.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. Let me ask you one thing. Is atheism a cult?
No.
Is it like a study group to prove religions or something?
Jay, okay, we're going to have to do this one at a time, okay? And you're not going to get to filibuster, okay? We're going to answer you, okay? But this is going to be a give and take, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to answer you, okay? Atheism is the lack of belief in any gods.
Right.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay? Morals, stop.
Okay.
My turn. Morals have to do with how human beings interact with one another, okay? And that is a completely different precept. Okay?
Morals are based on God.
No, yes. I think morals are based on practical considerations of actions having consequences.
Oh, my goodness.
You don't think actions have consequences?
Talk about filibuster.
You don't think it's our show, dude? And you've rambled and put words in our mouth the whole time. So we're going to tell you what we think, and if you can't accept it, that's fine. That's not our problem.
I don't accept it. I'll listen. Go ahead.
But here's the problem, though. We think that morals are based upon actions having consequences. Okay? You think that morals are based on some invisible man in the sky.
Well, God told you that your actions have consequences.
God hasn't told me anything.
That's the invisible man that's telling me.
God doesn't exist. Okay? So I don't think He's told me anything.
But you're believing that.
But here's the thing. Shut up.
Let's finish it.
The points you're making
let him
are based on God.
Shut up. I'll tell you what my thoughts are based on. Okay? If you didn't believe in God for some reason, let's say for something happened tomorrow, and you decided that for whatever reason, I can't believe, something happened that made you relinquish your religious beliefs. Just hypothetically, okay? Would you go out and hurt someone?
No.
Would you go out and kill somebody if you decided you didn't believe in God?
Would I go out and kill someone if I decided one day I didn't believe in God?
Yes.
No.
Why not? You don't believe in God anymore, and by your own argument, you should have no reason not to. But you won't.
No, but
why not? Why not? It's because
I won't just immediately if it just happened once,
wait a minute.
Boom, I didn't believe, and then all of a sudden, okay, you're saying at that moment, if I'm tempted to do that, I'm gonna do it.
Wait a minute. So if you're tempted, if you're tempted to kill someone,
yeah,
you're gonna do it. Even if you believe in God?
No, you're switching it now. You said if one day I didn't believe in God.
So if you didn't believe in God...
As soon as that day happened and I was tempted to kill someone, I would probably do it because man is inherently a sinner.
Okay, but here's your little problem, though.
That's the temptation. It's just a temptation.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I don't believe in your God.
Okay.
And if I were
that's cool.
if I were tempted to kill someone, I would not do it.
Okay.
So your whole argument is
no, it's not. That's fine. That's fine.
No.
That's fine that you don't believe it now. But the simple fact that you wouldn't do it, even though that you don't believe in God, is a godly law. That's a godly law. That's not a written law.
No,
just like nature, just like trees grow out of the ground. You're not helping those trees. Those trees are growing without your help.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
What does this have to do with the good conversation?
Let me make my point. You guys talk. Let me make my point. The trees, just example, trees. They're growing without your help.
Oh, wait a minute. We're from morality into trees
now? No. We're getting to the point of God here. What I'm trying to say is, you're saying that the day if you weren't tempted, if you weren't tempted to kill someone,
if you were or you weren't. If you were or you weren't.
If you were tempted to kill someone,
yes,
that means you're inherently a sinner. Okay. Now, if you didn't kill that person, if you didn't kill anyone, and you had that moral that you're saying, I'm not going to kill one because I don't want to kill him. That in itself is a godly principle.
It is?
Just like the trees growing outside and animals and grass grows, everything is energy, okay?
No.
Okay.
Dude, you're okay.
All right.
You're okay.
That's more than energy there.
Okay. You guys don't like Christianity. I think atheism is a cult.
No, he's just an idiot. Okay, no, he's Jay. He's a guy who just look. If it's good, he calls it God. That's it. Yeah. Whatever's good, he calls it God. And even if you don't believe in his God, if you do something good, he calls that God too. No matter what happens, God always wins with a guy like that. Yeah. Okay, he cannot comprehend, morality or just living your life without this invisible being. But it was interesting, though, that when I asked him, if you didn't believe in God suddenly, and you were tempted to kill someone, would you kill them? And he said,
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Nothing to stop him. Why not?
And we wouldn't, okay?
So,
People.
And the reason that we wouldn't is because we have good, well thought out reasons not to do it.
Yeah.
I know that there are laws and police who are going to come and get me. That doesn't help me. I don't like going in jail. I don't like every one of his friends coming out to beat the hell out of me.
Actually, it's not even that. It's not even that. Okay? His whole premise, the whole underlying premise of his belief system is faulty. That people are innately bad, they're innately evil, they innately have these desires to do these bad things, and it's only Christianity holding them back.
Yeah.
That is the innate flaw in his belief system.
It's a bunch of bollocks.
Yeah. I mean, this is why we say Christianity hates people, okay? It has a vested interest in breaking down human self-esteem, human dignity. It's anti-human. I don't just say it's against people, but it's definitely anti-humanist. Okay, humanism does not work from the premise that people are innately bad. Humanism works from the premise that people, while flawed, have the capacity of reason to overcome their problems, and that's why we have moral precepts. It's a bunch of people with reason, using their reason, to formulate laws that enable us to live together as a species. But again, I always like to turn back to the book of 2 Kings. Okay. Yes. 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 23 to 24. Now again, if this is the all-loving moral God from whom all morals and laws come from, and from whom not killing, I guess, is a very basic thing, how do you explain all the killing that this God does in this Bible, including right here in talking about the prophet Elisha? As he was going up the road, some youths came from the city and mocked him and said to him, "Go up, you bald head, go up, you bald head." So a bunch of kids mocking prophet Elijah. So he turned around and looked at them and pronounced a curse on them in the name of the Lord. And 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the youths. Okay, so that's
in the name of the Lord. We can maul 42.
So that's the moral God who thinks that killing is wrong. Apparently, that he knows. But anyway, okay. Well, that was fun. That was good. By the way, the show next week. We're going to have Dr. Alan Glasser on, right? And we're going to talk about this very topic. Going to have a conversation, and with a bunch of our atheist members calling in, about the subject of secular morality.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I argue the difference between secular morality and religious morality, right, is that religious morality is based upon authoritarianism and blind obedience to rules, and secular morality, that atheists and humanists subscribe to, is based upon practical consequences. Actions have consequences, and, if I were tempted to kill someone, guess what? I wouldn't do it, okay? But, anyway, Heather's online too. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. Well, this is a little bit off topic to what you've been talking about.
That's okay. It's open season.
But, I wanted to know about your guys' spiritual experiences, if you have any unexplainable or mystical, mysterious type ideas or actual experiences.
Well, I wouldn't. First off, I'd have to know what somebody meant when they were asking me about spiritual experiences. Because usually when I hear that term, what I hear people talking about are moments where they are experiencing like emotional euphoria, something that produces those kind of sensations in them emotionally. So I would define, I guess, spirituality as being some sort of emotionally fulfilling experience. So in that regard, maybe I have had several, but I've never had any kind of direct evidence that there is any sort of otherworld or supernatural heaven. God. Okay. I just now saw the monitor. That's an entirely different topic. I haven't ever had any sort of direct personal evidence or experience that there's like other realms, right, or a ghostly
what about like
spirit realm,
say universal mind, or the natural mind?
Well, again, see, I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by that?
I mean an idea of one overarching intelligence which is sort of the creative expression of spirit itself.
Yeah. So it's kind of a long, drawn-out way of saying God, basically. Again, like I said, I don't have any indication that any such thing exists. I can understand why people might want to believe in that kind of thing. Now, you have...
I'm not talking about a controlling, a personal God, like as far as being as a human being is.
Yeah, but people want to believe that there is kind of a sense of purpose to things. I mean, human beings seek patterns in their lives. We're pattern-seeking animals. That's what we do. We look for order and purpose and stuff. And so I can understand why people might want to believe that there is something kind of guiding all of this and that there is an overarching reason for it. And it seems kind of bleak to think that, ooh, well, maybe there isn't. Maybe we're just out here floating in this universe. But between those 2 points of view, it's understandable why more people would be attracted to, the first one. But again, just because a belief might bring you a certain amount of personal satisfaction or happiness or a feeling of contentment or a feeling that there is that kind of purpose going on.
I'm not talking about euphoria or anything. I'm talking about actual intelligence.
Well, no, I haven't encountered anything like that. I'll see.
Do you believe that intelligence is the realm of the human mind only?
Not necessarily. I'm not a zoologist. I'm not a biologist, so I couldn't tell you that. I mean, dolphins and a lot of primates and
well, you know how plants have this root system that connects just about every square inch of this planet.
Yeah.
Except for the ocean.
Except for the areas.
Well, there are plants in the ocean as well.
Except for the areas that are all paved over, but that's the point. Yeah, I don't. It's a biologist could probably put it a lot more elegantly, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think that there is something that links all life on this planet, if you want to put it that way. I mean, we all sort of are all of us in the animal world, we're part of the same genetic soup. And because of that, that's my reason why I think that we, have a responsibility to be, stewards of the planet, as it were. It's our environment. It's the only environment we have right now. And so in that sense, yeah, I mean, but again, to me, those are practical concerns that I'm looking at. And I don't really need to explore anything that I don't know what might be called spiritualism in order to have this appreciation of nature and the world around me. No.
Yeah.
So that's that's where I'm at. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, give us your answer.
Yeah.
Well, essentially, I mean, I can, like Martin was saying, I can understand, the desire to have the belief in some kind of, higher power, higher being, higher, loving, Tony the Tiger type thing. But I just...
Tony the Tiger?
Tony the Tiger? Where'd that come from?
Just that big, furry, grandfather-y type figure, It's
never been my image of God, but I'll give it to you. Okay, Tony the Tiger. Heaven's great!
Well,
Heather.
Imagine that apart from the, in addition or agglomeration of the human mind, there's a species mind, and each species has a mind, okay?
Well, there are certain things that I would say that every human has some similar base of desires and emotions and reactions, and that is essentially something that came from our evolutionary past. We all come from the same stock. We all have to live in the same kind of conditions, and so we're all going to smile when we're happy. We're all going to, get violent when things are going bad. There's going to be a certain set of pre-programmed things in there. I think that's more an indication of our past than something outside of us.
Well, again, it has to do with, we were talking just a few minutes ago about how morality developed, in civilization as a civilizing force of, coming up with what are the behaviors that will enable us to survive as a civilization.
Exactly.
But the instincts, the biological instincts towards self-preservation and then towards species success were the things that preceded civilization and the creation of the laws and the rules that we've come to live by. And so, again, it all does tie in together in that regard. there are a lot of animal species that have their own, for lack of a better term, moral codes, right? I mean, that enable those species to interact and survive successfully with each other. So that's so again, it's not anything like a big hive mind, but it is a thing of just when you have, and not all species are social species, right? So I mean, but we are, and the primates are, and a lot of the mammals are. We just came up with these ways of getting along with each other so our species could survive, and so that we could because if we didn't get along, we'd all die. So that's just a simple practical solution to that. So in regards to the fact that we had to develop as a species together cooperatively all those ideas in order to survive, that's that I have an understanding of. But
I'm talking about. My question really is: have you ever had an experience? Say, for example, you call out for something, or you say, I really need. Make it simple, a blue pen right now, or whatever. That's really stupid because those things are found everywhere. But something that you really need but don't have.
Yeah. You know what?
That thing comes into your life at the very moment when you need it to happen.
Yeah. You know what that's called? And again, I hate to. I guess it's our job to kind of pour cold water on the romantic aspects of these things. But that's probability. And what people do is when those kinds of events happen, they've happened to me too. I've been sort of like, boy, I sure hope and then right at that moment or within that happens. So what people do is because those events are so bizarre and so where you remember them, you tell everybody, boy, I can't believe it. The other day I was like,
but all the time that you said, man, I could really use an extra $5 for dinner tonight,
and you didn't have it.
So you forget those times.
Yeah, so you forget all the times when you really, really need something, and then it doesn't sort of very coincidentally appear in your life at that moment. So it has to do with just. An unusual event that's memorable because it is so unusual. But again, it's not any indication of anything magical going on, I'm afraid. It's just, you got lucky at that moment.
So you don't believe in magic? There's no magic in your world?
Well, in terms of...
Not by the common definition.
Yes. What a sad life we have. But there's... if you're talking about, things that happen that completely defy all physical laws that we know, and those things don't happen, right? Does magic happen in my world? Well, every time my dog jumps on my lap and licks my face, sure. That's like... that's a magical moment, right? If you want to, however you want to define it.
Depends on how you define it.
Yeah, but but as far as
how do you define magic?
I don't define it, not in the Harry Potter sense, right? Not say a magic spell and your dinner appears in a 4-course meal, things like that. Sure, it would be fun if we lived in that kind of world, but we don't. But that's okay because what we have in this world to work with is really pretty neat. Nature is amazing. The ability that human beings have to solve problems and to figure out how to get from point A to point B and increase our our survival. All of the medicine, the medical technologies we've come up with. Science and medicine have expanded human lifespans. I think that there is a lot of magic being created by people using their intellects and their reason to figure out how the world really does work.
So do you have an overarching faith in science then?
Well, in terms of science being a method of examining and exploring and experimenting and seeing what things work and what don't, it's a thing that works, right? Science can't, and it doesn't claim to, be able to provide 100% perfectly absolute answers, factual answers about everything you could hope for. It doesn't claim to make that, to have that ability, but it at least provides us with a method that we can go out and we can examine the world we live in and see what it's really doing and how it really works, and then see if we can maybe make that work for us.
So do you think that science will ever arrive at an explanation of everything? Just
no
absolute understanding?
No, and I don't think that because whenever you think you've learned everything about something, there's something more. it's like Chinese food, right? You think you're done eating it, and then there's more, right? Every time, there's always more stuff to learn. But to me, that seems to be much more exciting, that there's always more stuff to examine and to learn about than to say, oh, okay, well, there's this divine being, and there's all these magic powers, and anytime something that happens that you can't explain, well, it's some sort of magical force at work, and that's it. And then,
whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
Yeah, to me, it's much more, again, magical to think that there is more stuff always about our universe to learn.
What was that?
Oh, that was our sound effects guy. Yeah, throwing in a little.
Didn't even understand.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that we've explained that, sort of.
Sure. Yeah.
Does that make So there's. Nature's.
You answered my question. Basically, no, you don't call any experience that you've ever had spiritual. Is that what I'm saying?
I don't use the term because I don't think it has a definite meaning. I think it's too vague, and
I can't think of anything that had happened offhand that I would say, oh my God, that was some kind of spiritual event or something like that. Yeah. And I would probably say that chances are, in hindsight, either my view of the event is flawed, I remember things differently, or just that, again, it goes back to coincidences, probability, or retroactively fitting things. I really need this to happen, and all of a sudden 2 days later the problem's solved. I can kind of go back and say, I really wanted that solved in this way, and, well, it didn't get that way, but it had this other way, and wow, it must have happened, through some divine intervention. Well, not really. Yeah. It's just me, trying to make a pattern out of something that isn't really there.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, y'all.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Sorry, I hope we didn't depress her utterly with our magic-free lives. But,
it's all probability.
The world, it seems to me that the world and the universe around us, if you want to use the term magical, is magical enough without us having to attribute, fairy dust and stuff like that to everything. I mean, it's just sort of like, if you really study the sciences, if you study biology and you understand how it is that cells, are made and how they replicate, if you understand how it is that chemicals interact with one another, if you understand astronomical ideas, how stars are burning and how, and how solar systems are formed, that to me, it's just incredible. Yeah. It seems to me that the things about the real universe that you learn through, studying the universe through science are just so much more magical than anything the spiritualists can really come up with, because they just want to think of the universe just in strictly human terms, like, oh, it's all here for us, and it's all like the ghost of your dead Uncle Fred trying to contact you when you find your watch that you weren't expecting to find. It's your ghost of your Uncle Fred going, here's the watch. And that's, to me, it's just, I don't know. I mean, really, learn how the universe really works, and all of the, and I think that, the appeal of spirituality will actually not be so great. We're going to try to take Jake here in our last minute or two. Jake, thanks for holding.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
All right, hanging out.
Yeah, man, I think it was like two calls back, the guy that was trying to convince you and stuff like that. I had a neighbor. I went through this experience in my apartments I used to live in. My neighbor was this born-again Christian who invited me and my wife over to dinner one night, and it turned out to be just this trying to save our souls, get us to be born again. And I didn't know how to deal with it, but just to tell the guy that I didn't appreciate, where do these people get off, taking it upon themselves to save me?
Well,
they're like communists. Nobody's going to be happy till everybody's one of them,
It's the Borg, right?
Yeah.
You will be assimilated.
Yeah.
Religions, what is built into religion, especially the Christian faith, is this imperative to preach the word, right, and to increase the number of faithful, right?
But, even when I tell them I'm disinterested, not interested, they pursue even harder and harder. And it's like,
and again, I didn't mean to shout at the guy who called us before and just yell at him, shut up, dude. But good grief. I've encountered that before with Christians like I've tried to talk to face to face, where they just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking and don't let you get a word in edgeways. And of course, in his instance, his way of trying to convert us, right, is to tell us that, well, if we have anything good in our lives at all, that's God.
Yeah.
So you might as well just decide to believe. Well, no, that's not a good argument.
That's what, I had a cousin that 15 years old died of cancer, and I said, well, did God do that?
Well, they pick and choose, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, if a plane is going to crashes into a field, but it narrowly misses a house. oh, God was looking out for the people in that house. It's a miracle. You know, it's very selective in that regard.
Regardless of the people on the plane.
But you know, I mean, and our whole studio audience here was just like moaning and groaning when that other guy was on the air. Because again, you also get these guys telling us what it is that we think and putting words in our mouths, and then we have to correct and all that. So but hey, that's why we're here. We're happy to take the fire.
All right, man.
We're happy to. Thanks a lot for your call.
Thank you.
And we are happy to have heard even from that guy and you know and from all of our viewers. We're here to answer your questions. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to our stalwart crew, ACA. We're here every Sunday, 4:30 p.m. And I think that's the show. So we'll see you next time, next Sunday, 4:30. Theists. We don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. See, we're being more fair now.
Yes, we're inclusive now.
Yeah.